Hi, my name is Keely Roberts, and for my physical activity interventions and chronic diseases, I chose spinal cord injury. So, here's the overview of what my presentation is going to be. At the intro, I will be explaining a spinal cord injury and some different conditions that come with this injury. And then I will be explaining some physical activities you can do to help improve your injury and what you should and should not do with a spinal cord injury. Also, we'll be including some background research on patients with this injury, like what they went through and what they were told by their doctors, just to have some of like the real world people come in and like say what they like word for word. So then in conclusion, I will then go over what my whole entire presentation was about and just to summarize it all up. So to start off, a spinal cord injury, this is a result of to damage of the spinal cord that results in proper function like feeling or mobility or even both. With this injury, it is not the same as a back injury. This involves the spinal cord, which is the nerves along the vertebrae. So for some people, think it's like, oh, spinal cord injury is like where you broke your back. That is not it. There is a nerve that is running through your vertebrae that is the spinal cord. If you look at the picture, it shows where there's a fractured vertebrae, and then you have the spinal cord. So the spinal cord is like right in the middle of the vertebrae. So for example, break their back or neck, not damage the spinal cord region being is because that is involving the bones and not the nerves. So there's multiple different ways you can get a spinal cord injury. You can get shot. You can dive into a pool. So like say like you're diving off the diving board and you don't realize how shallow the water is, and you hit your head and you injure your neck. You can also get into a car accident. You can be playing a sport like football, baseball, especially cheerleading, falling from a stunt, and then you can get it to electrical accidents. A lot of people don't really believe about electrical accidents because it's electrical. They're like, oh my gosh, how does that happen? Well, electrical accidents will send vibration through the nerves, which could damage it. There are different types of spinal cord injuries. This injury can range from mild to very severe. You have a complete spinal cord injury, which is a permanent damage to the spinal cord, and then you also have an incomplete spinal cord injury, which is like very partial damage to the spinal cord to where it's not a complete slice of the spinal cord or a complete damage to where it can actually get better. You have a cervical spinal cord injury, lumbar spinal cord injury, thoracic spinal cord injury, and a sacral spinal cord injury. If you look at the picture, it shows you the different areas of the nerves of the spinal cord. And then cervical is from your head and neck, anything above your shoulders. A lumbar is your hips and your legs. Thoracic is your upper chest, mid-back, abdominal muscles. And then finally, sacral is your hips, back of the thighs, buttocks, and pelvic organs. There are 3 things doctors will really recommend if you have a spinal cord injury. Stretching is one of the physical activities doctors suggest with a spinal cord injury. By stretching, you help prevent your muscles from getting really tight and stiffening up to where it just makes everything you feel like you can't move, which causes more pain. So focusing on your shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles is a good way to help with your spinal cord injury. Doctors suggest having someone help you stretch so you won't do anything you aren't supposed to as an overstretch to make your injury worse. With that being said, say like your trainer wants you to do this much stretching and you go home and you overstretch, that could make the injury 10 times worse. Excuse me. Doctors say to stretch each muscle group for at least 30 seconds and to repeat it twice. Reason being, if you only do it once, that's just telling the body, okay, like it's stretched and they can get tighter. So if you do it twice, it gives it more of a range to loosen up and just make everything just feel loose and not as tight. They also mentioned to try and stretch further every single time you stretch. With that being said, though, I would not. Doctors also recommend that you do not go one day, say you stretch this much, and then you go the next day. They recommend going week by week. So you stretch this much this week, and then you stretch this much that week. This is only recommended if the trainer allows you to do it. Another is aerobic exercise. This includes swimming, playing in wheelchair basketball, rowing, hand cycling, and circle training. There's also an exercise called talk test. So if you're doing a moderate intensity workout, you should be able to carry on a full-on conversation. But if you're doing vigorous intensity, like a little bit faster pace, you should be able to get only out a few words. This helps keeps your heart active to giving you a workout that really touch your body, like, hey, like I'm still active, I'm not just sitting here not doing nothing and letting my body go to waste. But before you do all that, you want to do a warm-up to get your heart rate up and your muscles warm to where you don't pull anything or make your injury worse. So then after you do your moderate or vigorous exercise, you want to do a cool down so it slowly decreases your heart rate. You only do what the doctors tell you to do, or you will end up severely worsening injuring your spinal cord more. Another one is strength training. This is a really big one because you want to strengthen the muscles around your spinal cord to where you're not relying on your spinal cord as much or damaging it even more. So with this, it'll target the muscle groups you have control over. So say like depending on either cervical, thoracic, sacral, or lumbar, you'll be depending on the muscle groups you can control, the ones that are not really as injured as the ones you have injured. So exercise at least 10 times, meaning 10 reps equals 1 set. The goal is for it to be hard for you to get another rep. So you want to challenge yourself with each rep so it feels like you're getting stronger and you're actually doing something. If you don't, that just means it's a waste of your time. Different types of strength training include yoga, weightlifting, and use of resistance bands. The best one to start with is yoga, so it loosens up the body. Symptoms of a spinal cord injury is having a hard time walking, not able to move your arms or your legs, or numbness or tingling throughout the areas that are damaged, like say like you hurt your neck, you feel tingling in your arms and your back and your legs, and then also you have pain and stiffness and pressure in the back of your neck or your head, and then you also have a headache. What not to do. These are a few things doctors suggest you not to do on your own. It's like running on your own. You can injure yourself. Walking at fast pace or a pace you haven't practiced with a trainer. With that being said, you do this pace at your training facility and then you go home and do a faster pace that could actually pull some muscles or make your injury worse. Walking without assistance, like walking without a walker or a cane or somebody with you without the trainer or doctor's approval. Overstretching, like I said in a few slides before, and doing too much at once, like for example, going down and picking up the dishes and then reaching up at a high angle and standing up really fast over and over and over. That could really injure your spinal cord as well. So with my background research, I was going to do like an athlete, like a professional athlete that's had this injury before, like they play on the Pittsburgh Steelers. But my mom actually reminded me and thought it'd be pretty cool if I initiated someone in my family that's actually had a spinal cord injury. My aunt, she was in a car accident 30 years ago. She is now paralyzed from the hips down. I went to go talk to her, and she has a lumbar spinal cord injury. She fell asleep behind the wheel, causing her to have an accident. She went to the doctor to try and do rehab. The doctor said that she might regain feeling and mobility in her legs. They weren't 100% sure. So she went to rehab. Nothing happened. Nothing changed. So she got really depressed and everything like that. So the doctors were telling her to join this club that involves other people with her injury to come together and move around the track in a gym. So now she's in a wheelchair. And they'll just talk about their stories and creating conversation while they're doing physical activity. The reason the doctor told her to do this, he doesn't want her to sit around the house and just let her body go to waste and just give up on her body. So now that she can't walk, she still enjoys her life because of going to her group and talking everything out. She can now drive behind the wheel of a car by just using her hands. So there's different hand motions. So like she'll move her hand up to go forward and then she'll give shift. She has like this special van for her wheelchair. And she also told me that she mentions that just because you are unable to do something you love or something everyone else is doing, you shouldn't give up on life, just adjust to it. So adjust to your surroundings because it's going to be a life change. It was a life changer for her when she found out because she can never walk again. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed my presentation.